Callisto Protocol is a game that looks like it was made just for me. A game that is categorized inside my favorite genre of survivor horror. Third-person survivor horror to be exact, and it takes place on one of the 80 moons of my favorite planet, Jupiter. Between me and you, when I was a kid, I used to tell my family that I was from Jupiter. That's a whole nother subject. Anyway, at first glance, you may think, is this a Dead Space prequel or something? That's because the project is being led by Glenn Schofield, the co-creator and executive producer of the original Dead Space game, a game that I played the hell out of when I was in college. Now, Dead Space isn't his only accolade. Schofield is a vet, working as an executive producer back in 1996 on games such as Gex 2 and 3 and Blood Omen from Crystal Dynamics/Eidos. Callisto Protocol is the first game from Schofield's new company, born 3 years ago, Striking Distance Studios, and is looking as though it can be an even bigger title than Dead Space. While the game is being developed by Striking Distance Studios, it may be their first rodeo, but it isn't their publishers. Krafton, located in the well-developed city of Bundae-gu of South Korea, they are responsible for publishing this title. They are known for such titles as PUBG and Subnautica, which is something that I still want to give a try. Actually, Callisto Protocol at some point was supposed to take place in the PUBG universe, but that idea was scratched, and I'm low-key glad. Horror really is the top priority of the game. As the team states, their mission is to set a new bar for horror in interactive entertainment. A goal like that has me excited, and I better have trouble sleeping after playing this game. I remember playing games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil when I was younger, and I had to pause for a second because I needed to prepare for what was coming next. Bring me back to those days. I seriously think this game will have the ability to achieve this type of fear, because it looks like they aren't going to hold anything back. After watching their short docu-series, it was like the team at Striking Distance Studios assembled the Avengers of Horror for interviews. In that docu-series, you had interviews with people such as Alec Gillis, known as a master special effects artist, particularly in horror, working on monster designs for the Alien movies and also Stephen King's It. Sean Cunningham, best known for Friday the 13th. Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. Tom Savini, a makeup artist for Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, a lot of things dead. I'm sure a lot of those conversations went on behind the scenes with the people in that field on how they were going to craft the most terrifying title yet. Oh God.
The hell was that?
Now that we got a little bit of background on the team and their intentions, let's take a more in-depth look on what they've been doing with these aspirations to make the best interactive horror title. I think one thing that makes a good survival horror game is the ability to make players feel isolated and helpless. What a better way to achieve this than throwing players in a maximum security prison that just happens to be in space. In Callisto Protocol, you take on the role of Jacob Lee, who kind of reminds me of Evan Fournier from the New York Knicks. It's the year 2320, and Jacob is an inmate inside Black Iron Prison located on Jupiter's moon, Callisto. Now, I don't know if Earth is still around during this time, but I'm already wondering, what the hell did Jacob do that was so bad it had him sent to a prison on a moon? During the story trailer, you can hear multiple people telling him, "I know what you've done." And the tone that they use makes it sound as if Jacob really did something effed up. But the persona he gives off is one of innocence. At some point during Jacob's incarceration, the inmates of Black Iron Prison begin to transform into monstrous creatures as an infection takes over. And we're talking really monstrous, grotesque, vile creatures. The concept reminds me a little of this game called The Suffering, if those of you watching remember that one. If you're feeling retro one day, I suggest playing it if you haven't. Striking Distance Studios is really focused on making this game a brutal masterpiece. Let me tell you, some of the stuff I've seen so far is downright nasty, and that's a good thing. A large part of the combat appears to be melee focused. It really looks as though it will work in this game's favor. All of the fights feel personal, and I can get a good sense of the tension, and this is just coming from watching the gameplay. I can only imagine when I'm the one in control. One thing that really catches my eye during the combat scenarios is the dodging mechanic. That looks like something that can really make this stand out in the survival horror genre. If it is done correctly, fluently, while also giving you wide varieties of animations, I'm sure it's possible to give you a variety of animations. We got real actors in mocap, like, come on. Now I'm expecting a nice selection of ranged weapons to take down the infected with. You'll likely be finding them on deceased prison guards and also purchasing and upgrading them using Callisto credits you salvaged. Looks like there will be a kiosk where you have these weapons 3D printed and modified. But for the first time, I'm actually more excited about the brutal melee combat. Another tool that Jacob will have at his disposal is some sort of gravity weapon. It is a piece of an equipment that the Black Iron Guards use to keep the inmates in check. You'll use this a lot to pick up infected inmates and smash them into walls, traps, or just toss them at other nasty monsters attempting to rip you in half. Of course, you can use this gravity weapon to pick up objects as well. I'm sure it would also be used to solve puzzles, sort of like the stasis was in Dead Space. You'll need to use whatever you can to kill these infected monstrosities, because once they coming at you, they really coming at you. From the footage, you could tell there's going to be a lot of times when you're so focused on the enemy in front of you, you won't notice the nasty bastard creeping up behind you, ready to bite the back of your neck off. They're clawing at you, shooting disgusting green particles of what could be acid, or they just straight up trying to eat you alive. It's all looking pleasantly grotesque. You can blow an enemy's head off, but that doesn't mean the fight is over. They'll keep coming at you. As a matter of fact, they'll regrow their head. With the focus on melee, you know that means your attacks can be blocked, so don't think everything is sweet just because you got a powerful electric baton. And as I said earlier, it's no holding back. The team is trying to make sure you feel the severity of these fights with limbs flying off, blood spurting all over the place, and bones being exposed. The main goal of the game is to escape Black Iron Prison, but also uncover the dark secrets behind the infection whilst doing so. This mission is going to put you in some very tension-riddled, dangerous situations, and that means some gruesome death sequences for Mr. Jacob if you don't succeed. Another major focus of this title was the overall atmosphere. It's looking like Striking Distance has gotten it right with the faintly lit corridors, cramped rooms with corpses hanging, playing with your mind, wondering if one of those bodies is going to jump out and grab you, rooms flooded with water that looks highly contaminated. You got ambient sounds of creaking pipes and all that good stuff that constantly makes you want to turn around and make sure nothing's behind you. All in all, I think the Callisto Protocol is going to achieve their goal of making the next great horror title. The combat looks highly enjoyable. I'm sure the ammo will be scarce, leaving us feeling as though we're not going to make it, but well designed enough that we'll find a way. There is a talented team behind this, and they've been diligent in research and creation. I love a good mystery, and this story looks to deliver just that. What did Jacob do to get locked in this prison? Is he really guilty? We're gonna find out the answer to all of this soon. Callisto Protocol is set to release December 2nd, 2022 for PC and consoles except for the Nintendo Switch. Well, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about the Callisto Protocol in the comments section. Don't be scared. Like and sub to the channel for more previews like this, some game playthroughs, and eventually dev logs of the games that I'm working on. My main goal is to make a survival horror RPG, but firstly I'm starting off with a mobile endless runner. But we'll have more on that later. Thanks again for watching. Peace.